Let me bring in
Testing.
my man, Carl Ja. Oh, I'm sorry, you were talking. Were you on the
No,
phone?
I'm just testing my mic. Sorry,
Oh,
I
okay.
dropped almost dropped the ball again. I apologize.
Why do you have such a hard time with that, Carl?
I
It's
have a
is it because
kid.
it's in the evening and
I have two
normally
kids.
was it
I have
afternoon?
two kids.
Look, I would tell you, I end up like let's say eating a late lunch or eating a late dinner, and then just fall asleep in a chair, and you wake up like, all right, I gotta get a show. I gotta get a show. That didn't happen today. I had a medical appointment today. That's why I was running late. But thank you for joining me, man. I really do appreciate it. I honestly do. I know it's look. I know a show in the evening is difficult, at least for me, especially when I'm used to doing the morning show. And by the time you hit 5 or 6 o'clock, my body is just ready to chill out. So I do appreciate you coming on, even if it's a bit late. I do appreciate it. I know it's me asking, and so it's a ask. So I do get it.
No, it's cool. I was just playing with my kids. I forgot the time. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, that's not too bad. I don't feel bad about that. That's okay. That's your child. That's fine. Carl, I want to show you something. This video had me in stitches, and I think it may have you in stitches. Mark Sloboda turned me onto it. And this is basically what took place in a nutshell. And I want to get your commentary on it. This is this, and this.
All right, Vladimir, if you don't end that war in Ukraine in 50 days, I'm going to do something very strong.
Oh, God, this again. Okay, right, cool.
What's that? Cool? I'll show you cool. Now you have 10 days. Okay, maybe 12.
Love it, can't wait.
Okay, that's it.
Ow! Holy shit! Why did you hit me? Why did you hit me?
Look, somebody's going to pay the price for Vladimir not listening to me, and it's not going to be me, all right?
But he is also helping Russia. What
Oh
I
my
did
God.
was that I could.
Yeah, well, but he's...
Oh God, that's so
Oh,
funny. And by the way, that's what happened, right? Because they hit India with like 50% sanctions, secondary tariffs. China, nothing.
That's exactly what happened. I mean, because the reason really they're putting the clamp on India right now because Donald Trump is getting desperate. He's not getting the deal he wanted on Ukraine because he's still under the illusion that United States can dictate terms to Russia on how this post-war settlement is going to be in Ukraine. But you can't get what you want in, art of deal negotiations, what you cannot win on the battlefield. And Russia is winning on the battlefield, and they hold all the cards. And this is why I mean that video is just perfect. That video just perfectly illustrates the situation. Trump is taking out his frustration on India because he know he can't do much with China. I mean, he was slapping he said he was going to slap secondary sanctions on people who purchase Russian oil. Well, the largest purchaser of Russian oil, number one is China, number two is India. The United States still depend on China for the rare earth shipment. I mean, like China just gave them a 6-month extension for the U.S. car companies. That can be taken back anytime. And like Scott Bessent had to chase the Chinese vice mayor all the way to Europe to make that deal. They're not going to scatter that deal. This is why China, they said straight out, who we buy oil from is our business. That's our sovereign rights. We will not let that be questioned. And and then what did Trump do? He extended the trade tariff truce for another 90 days. He just approved it. He just approved the another 90 days extension for the trade truce with China. But India, because India has less cards to play, so to speak, because China is a producer, has a producer power. Unlike Scott Bessent. Scott Bessent said, no, you don't understand. We have all the cards because we're the creditor, we're the consumer. We hold all the cards. They need our money. Well, it turns out China don't need your money. They're prepared to walk away. And there's nothing U.S. can do about it. But India, this is the thing. Trump is a type of person who only respects strength. He does not respect weakness. In fact, he preys on weakness. So, in fact, if you saw what happened in the aftermath of the Indian-Pakistan conflict. Now the United States and Pakistan actually starting to warm up because, again, from Trump's perspective, the value India provided was that India could provide as a possible counterweight to China. This is why throughout the Biden administration, Biden looked the other way when they knew a lot of oil and gas was being purchased by India and it was being re-exported to Europe. That was they even said as much to the U.S. media. Said like, okay, like the U.S.-India relationship is multifaceted. We need to stay together with the largest democracy, to confront China in the Pacific. So, but the result of the Indian-Pakistan conflict was that they saw, oh, wait a minute, Pakistan just humiliated India with Chinese weapon systems.
Right.
So how can we count on India to counter China, right? When they just got a humiliation in the hands of Pakistan using Chinese weapons, no less. So this is why I think what the Trump administration trying to do right now, they're trying to improve their ties with Pakistan, hopefully to peel Pakistan a little bit away from China. And they just don't care about India anymore because from Trump's perspective, India is not providing as much value as a counterweight to China anymore. And so that's why he is taking out his frustration with Russia on Modi. And that serves only to drive India to open a new chapter of the relationship with China. Modi is going to go to China end of this month. This is the first time in the 7 years that Modi have visited China. And before Modi visited, Indian National Security Advisor, National Defense, the Indian Defense Minister, Indian Foreign Minister, all have visited China. And according to the Indian Foreign Minister Jay Shankar, he said, "Oh, I think everything is moving in positive direction." So, just like how United States pushed Russia and China together, now they're pushing India and China together. This is why, Jamar, I say Trump is my president for peace. Give that guy a Nobel Peace Prize already, please.
It's funny. I kept saying, do it, do it, do it. I was super curious on whether he was going to do it, right? Because I'm like, you have put tariffs on the entirety of the world, which means you've raised the cost of Americans, what they have to pay in stores and everything else. Okay. And then you're going to say, and we're also going to put 100% tariffs on India, China, whoever rando that buys oil from Russia. And I'm like, whoa, that's pretty amazing. Let me see you do that. Like how much tax are you really going to put on the American worker, right? And so then he's like, yeah, it's not going to be 50 days, it's going to be 10. He's like, ooh, why not make it 5? Why not make it 3? Do it now. Let me see it. And then you get this clip, which is fantastic. You're going to love this one, where J.D. Vance is sitting having a conversation with a reporter. And they say, hey, J.D. Vance. It's funny. Maria, what is her name? What is her? Bartoloma. I used to have such a crush on her. I used to have such a crush on her. Listen to this. Listen to what she says here.
Obviously, the China issue.
Basically, she's asking him, hey, what about the sanctions on China? You were supposed to pass those also, right?
Not afraid to put significant tariffs on countries like India for buying Russian oil. Are you going to do a similar move to China as well? They're also buying Russian oil.
Well, the president said he's thinking about it, but he hasn't made any firm decisions. Obviously, the China issue is a little bit more complicated because our relationship with China, it affects a lot of other things that have nothing to do with the Russian situation. So the president's reviewing his options, and of course, he'll make that decision when he decides.
Right. It's so complicated.
The complicated part is China have them by the balls. That's a complicated part. Right. China have them by the balls in terms of the Chinese monopoly of rare earths. Right now, even if you dig out rare earth out of California, you still need to ship it to China for refining because you don't have the technology, machinery, or the human capital to know how to make it into rare earth
that's so
heat
funny.
resistant magnets. And this is why this is why this is a quite different treatment. I think it's very short-sighted. I mean,
What
from
do you
the
mean?
perspective, I mean, short-sighted from the if you actually want to, preserve the U.S. empire.
Right.
That's short-sighted because you are destroying this alliance that you have built over the past years. Like now, like the Indians are very upset. They did not expect this turn of the events because from their perspective, they have been playing ball with Washington, right? Except they've been playing ball except on the Russian oil purchase, but they thought they got a exemption because the exemption card was given to them during the Biden administration. They thought it was understood. The U.S. will continue to look other way, but they were completely blindsided because I think also Modi administration they thought they had more influence in U.S. than they really do, and because they thought with the rising affluence and influence of Indian Americans in U.S., they thought they have more say in Washington, but that was not the case. And this is they got floored. They got blindsided. So this is why they're going to China right now. They're reversing all their policies of containment versus China. Like after India-China border conflict in 2020, India put a whole bunch of restrictions on Chinese investment in Indian economy, and they banned TikTok. They're the first country to ban TikTok. That's where the U.S. got that's where the U.S. got their idea to ban TikTok. So now they're talking about loosening the restriction on the Chinese investment in the Indian economy because before 2020, a lot of the Indian tech startup was funded with Chinese money from big Chinese tech giant like Tencent, Alibaba, etc. But they didn't like that. They cut that off. Now they're saying, oh, well, what are we considering? Were we considering to welcome in Chinese investment into Indian economy because this is what Donald Trump did. In many ways, Donald Trump is the best U.S. president for China in decades.
It's so short-sighted. You're right. I mean, what's wild about it? Any schoolboy basic analysis of BRICS. Why does BRICS exist? BRICS exists because the U.S. and let's say Europe has been running roughshod over the world economy, and the other economies are gotten sick of it. Period. And especially the exploitation of the dollar and using the dollar as a weapon, all of this stuff made it even worse, right? If that is true, which it is, how do you attack India like this or Brazil like this? Now, you could say, well, these are all part of BRICS. And so we want to somehow put the screws to BRICS. Hopefully you can break them. But if they don't break, they will be closer together and they will be very angry at you, which is where India, Brazil is today, especially India. India was supposed to be the American-friendly BRICS country. That was the one that's... Yes. India doesn't want to have a dollar or have a currency. India doesn't want to do that stuff. India, what about now? What about now?
Yeah, that's all going to change. I mean, same thing in Brazil. Brazil, after Trump slapped 50% tariff on Brazil for not releasing Bolsonaro, I mean, that's a blatant intervention in Brazilians' domestic politics.
Yes.
That's not going to win him more friends in Brazil. This is only going to make the BRICS tighter, stronger. So, I love Trump, man. He's my president for accelerationism, for the decline of U.S. empire. I love
BRICS is circling the wagon. I mean, that's what it seems to be. It seems like India was in Russia meeting with Putin or his representatives. As you pointed out, they're going to China. Brazil, all of these guys were on the phone calls. Hell, they're even on the phone calls talking about the Alaska meeting that is coming up between Trump and Putin.
This is what I said before. Like the people, all these nations should have come together, form a collective action faced with the U.S. tariff, rather than trying to negotiate bilaterally, one-on-one. And then Trump is going to apply maximum pressure on each one. Whereas if you negotiate as a bloc, you will be much stronger. You have much more stronger negotiation position. And so I mean, but Trump is gonna, don't worry, Trump is gonna make that happen. My president
Why don't
will
you
make
think
it
they did
happen.
that? I'm super curious on that because my assumption was
Oh,
they're obviously
I-
stronger together. I mean, if you have like 10 people, if you deal with the bully 101, he's like, give me your lunch money. It's different when you have 10,
the
kindergartners.
thing is, a lot of people are still thinking, okay, if I'm the first to rush to Washington and you should show my eagerness for the deal, maybe I will get a better deal. I mean, that's how a lot of these that's drove a lot of the country to Washington in the early days for the trade deal, including countries like Japan. And then when Japan asks the Trump administration what you want, and they're like, what's your offer? They're completely confused. Like, what the hell is going on? And so these, yeah.
That's so funny. Like it's sad and funny on some level. Like the vassal of Europe, where they're like, how far can we spread our ass open? And Trump still doesn't care. He's like, we'll give you 15%. You got to invest all of this money in me. You got to buy all our weapons and oil and everything else. It's like, dude. And von der Leyen going back and they're like, that's the best that you got. France was like, that's capitulation. Like it's deeply humiliating. But I understand why Europe did it because they're vassals. It's the rest of the world that I legit thought they are obviously going to lump together because it's their best interest to lump together.
But I think Trump is pushing India too far this time.
Yes,
because
agreed.
India obviously is not going to cut off its ties with Russia because they have a very long-standing tie with Russia, stretching all the way back to the Cold War when India was basically very pro-Soviet Union. At that time, United States was more closer with Pakistan's military government, right? Because they're also working together to overthrow the communist government in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, and all that. Right. And so that traditional friendship survived with the collapse of the Soviet Union. India continued to have very close relationship with Russia, where India depends on to provide a lot of its weapon systems. India's aircraft carrier, they got it from Russia. India's air defense system, S-400, they got it from Russia. They have a lot of their planes. They have the MiG-22s and the SUs. They all got from Russia. So they are, and they have a very lucrative trade deal with the Russian oil because they're getting a discount on the Russian oil. And then suddenly, around after 2022, India became. They discover a large amount of oil somehow, and they start become an oil exporter, become an oil and gas exporter to Europe because they just magically discover very large reserve of oil up north somewhere. And so this all worked out very well for India. Whereas when Trump is not offering any incentive, he's not offering any carrots. It's all big sticks. Like, I'm going to hit you with tariff if you don't do what I say. Oh, you want some carrots? My carrots is I don't put tariff on you.
Right. Right. I don't hit you. That's what my tariff is. That's what my carrot is. Yeah.
And they, on top of that, they want India to open its, they want to, because India do have a lot of high barrier tariffs, to protect domestic industries. U.S. want to demolish all that tariff wall, but particularly in the agricultural sector. Right. So the U.S. farm product, which is heavily subsidized by U.S. government, by the way, will flood the Indian market. But look, India, this is a country where 60% of the population is still employed in the agricultural sector. That's the kind of the largest employer of people. There's no way Modi can afford to lose that vote, that block, because those people are going to suffer if they let in the subsidized American farm product in, and that will lead to massive dislocation and massive loss of jobs. So this is a kind of a make or break deal for the Indian government. They cannot back off on that. But Trump doesn't care. For him, it's like, hey, my way or the highway. So Modi is going to Beijing.
It's weird, man, because I'm having a hard time saying this. It's a very bizarre situation. Usually if we have a trade deal, both of us want to come out saying, okay, both of us got what we want on some level. It's a fair exchange. It's kind of like you're buying a car and say, okay, well, I'll pay this much for the car. That's not the way Trump works, though. And it's almost like for him, I have to show that it's unequal, meaning I have to show that I won, you lost, that you look like an asshole, you look like a fool, and that I could show this and present you to the American public like Roman used to, bring people in crates and people throwing eggs and whatnot at him. That's what Trump likes to do to world leaders when he is in trade deals. And it is a bizarre, I don't know if it's insecurity. I don't know what it is. I don't know if he thinks, well, my base likes to see me humiliate these world leaders. Look at what, 15% tariffs, or otherwise I would have put 30% on it. And I'm going to sit here with her and present her to the world as a loser, and everybody knows she's a loser. Or I'm going to talk about Japan and how I'm getting Japan to invest all this money. Japan is like, dude, he's out of his mind. We didn't tell him that. But I'm just making a point of saying it is a odd psychological quirk.
But Jamar, but the American elite has always have this zero-sum mentality when it comes to the world. The U.S. have no allies. U.S. have no allies. We only have vassal states. You are not partners. I'm sorry, you are vassals. But the only difference with Trump is he just like rip it all in the open. He wants to actually make a public display of the humiliation ritual, right? I mean that. Back in the days when you have Obama is like the velvet glove. He put there's an iron fist in the velvet glove, but at least he handle you with velvet glove. but Trump is like he's taking the glove off. Like I'm gonna slap.
You've been dealing with bricks all day. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I don't get it. It's just weird. It's like a weird psychological thing. How's China going to deal with this? Because supposedly the U.S. and China are still in negotiations, as you heard from Vance. Well, there are two things. One, it's clear that China has slowed down the production of rare earths. So the U.S. military and everything else have a harder time in using those things for issues of war. So we can't give Ukraine additional weapons. It's going to take Israel, X number of years in order to build back their stockpiles. How is the U.S. military or the European military going to do? Like, it's that, right? That's part of it. The other part is also China seems to be dropping dollars, meaning treasuries. Like they seem to be getting rid of them. I know the last time it was Japan that was getting rid of them, but China seems to be slowly getting rid of them also.
Well, the way China is not dumping the treasury, because if China dump all the treasury, it's going to be China that's going to lose money if the bond price goes down. So what China has been doing is they're not buying any new bonds. They're just sitting on their old bond holding and let them reach maturity and cash out. So this is why there was a steady decline of Chinese holding from like 1.4 trillion at the peak. Now it's less than half. It's like 700 billion. Yeah. So China is not actively dumping. They're just holding on to the bond until it matures, and then, but they're not buying new bonds to replace that. This is why, before our Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen keep on going to China, maybe she also liked mushrooms, but she really was going there to beg the Chinese to continue to buy more U.S. Treasuries. But China is not buying more. China is like, now we have all these dollars. What are we gonna do? We can't buy stuff that we want from you. You won't let us. You won't let us to buy the most advanced NVIDIA AI chips. You won't let us. You just recently put restriction on sale of Boeing engine. So all these products that we actually want to buy from United States that actually cost a lot of money, you don't let us to buy. There's only so much soybean and corn we can buy from the United States. What the hell are we gonna do with all these piles of money, right? So they are. This is one of the reasons for China's Belt and Road Initiative was to invest all these dollars they earn from the trade surplus with the United States into actual projects, infrastructure projects in other global souths, so that build connectivity, builds more trade. In a way, it both diversify China's own holdings of its dollars pile, but also diversify China's trade away from United States. This is
Mhm.
this is why, when Trump started this tariff war, United States is not prepared. It's not really prepared to decouple from China, despite all the lyrics, all the rhetorics. Whereas China has been prepared since the first Trump term, ever since Trump started to place sanction on China, to prepare for the eventuality of decoupling from United States. That's why they have been expanding their market to other countries like ASEAN. ASEAN is now largest Chinese trading partner. And EU is the second largest. United States is only the third largest trading partner of China now. So this is why when it comes to trade negotiation, China is much more prepared. They have been prepared for the last, since 2017. What is it now? They have been prepared for the last 8 years. Trump just pulled this tariff thing out of his hat. Let's go. And U.S. industry is not prepared. This is why you're not. This is why U.S. don't have any hands when they come to deal with China. This is what Trump has belatedly realized. This is why Vance said, "Well, our relationship with China is very complicated."
It's complicated. It's very complicated. I can't explain it. It's just too complicated.
They just got me by the balls. That's the
you can't say that, right? It just tells her she has me by the balls. I will tell you this. I used to work as a barista, and one of the servers, he just a flake, right? And the guy, for whatever reason, just didn't show up to work that day. And the manager came. He's like, "Where is he?" It was like, he didn't show up. He says, "God damn it, he got me by the balls," because he couldn't fire him because he needed him because we were already short. He's like, "Got me by the balls. I can't do anything about it." I'm curious on one last thing. So China, and this is going to affect China. This is going to affect Russia and Iran. This has to do with the Azerbaijan. What is going on with this month? The Azerbaijan deal with Armenia, where they went to the White House, shook hands with Donald Trump. They kind of made the point of saying, "Hey, this is great. We now have peace." And now a quarter, I think it's called Zanzibar quarter. I think they're naming it the Trump. What is it? The Trump quarter of peace or some nonsense like that. But China is one of the countries that are going to be adversely affected by this. And just a quick thought, or do you have a thought about it before we go? This could be the last.
Well,
question.
I mean, not necessarily. I mean, they have this was planned out way in advance. By the way, they had the idea of pumping access to the Caspian oil since the Clinton era, when right after the collapse of the Soviet Union.
Right.
They have been working on to get the access to the Central Asian and Caspian oil and gas, and the Armenia Azerbaijan conflict was a distraction because that means they can't build a pipeline straight from Azerbaijan to Turkey, right? And now that this whole corridor idea is to kind of finalizing this long laid out plan to access the Caspian oil, and also Israel has a large interest in this because Israel largely depends on the oil that's piped from Azerbaijan through Turkey,
Right.
and through Turkey's port, Ceyhan port, to Israel. So Israel also like to see that happen. This is United States, Turkey, Israel, Azerbaijan all have a hand to place this, and Armenia. I mean, they try to pivot closer to Washington.
Yes.
But only thing they have gotten so far is they got destroyed in a war by Azerbaijan. Yeah, they got destroyed. I'm trying to find a better word, but I can't. They got destroyed in a war with Azerbaijan, and now they have to go to Washington just to all this peace negotiation just to make Trump look good. I think that man really wants his Nobel Peace Prize, by the way. That's why White House actually tweeted out this is he's the greatest peace president. But this also, it's a cover for this really important oil energy corridor that will bring Azerbaijan to Turkey, and and possibly for export of those hydrocarbons to Europe. And so, Armenia is getting a raw deal out of this because they have a pro-West president, who decided they need to pivot away from Russia and into the Western camp. And Iran, this is not so good for Iran either, because Armenia used to be their ally, right? And Azerbaijan actually have very close tie with Israel. In their war with Armenia, one of the deciding factor was Israeli-made drones for Azerbaijan that tipped the balance. And there was a lot of suspicion that Israel were basing a lot of their anti-Iran operations out of Azerbaijan, including during the 12-day Israel-Iran war. So
they were.
Yeah,
that's not suspicion. They were.
Yeah, so this is not really good news for Iran, because they're getting cut off with the Armenia gang. They're getting physically isolated. Now their only link to Russia is through the Caspian, through the Caspian Sea corridor. But for China, though, China is not as much affected, because this is like very far from China. China is already getting Caspian gas piped through a pipeline through Kazakhstan, because Kazakhstan also bordering Caspian Sea. And China had built that pipeline like for years, for decades. So they're already getting their share of oil and gas from the region. Like they're not that. This doesn't affect China as much, but it affects more like the Chinese partners in the region, like Russia, like Iran. Yeah.
Carl, you are fantastic. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. I honestly do. Carl Jha, he is host of Silk and Steel podcast, focused on China and surrounding regions and their history, culture, and politics. You can follow Carl on Twitter at Carl Jha. You can follow his podcast at Steel Silk In. What is that? That looks wrong. You can support him on Patreon at Silk In, the letter Steel. Carl, you be safe, man. Thank you for this.
Thank you. Always a pleasure, Jamar.
Have a good one. All right.